Hey guys, I'm Tim Langston with Red Dog Bushcraft. Just back from the gathering, and while I was there I picked up some stuff for a really cool project. The Pathfinder store was selling knife blanks from the Pathfinder Knife Shop, and I grabbed one of those, and this is the one I chose. I believe this is the Phantom HD. Very nice profile, I love it. Good thick blade. The grind lines are just absolutely perfect. I'm interested in seeing how their heat treat goes. I understand that they do a really nice job with that. This blank, once again, is already heat treated. The holes are already drilled in it for the scales. The profile is pretty much finished out. A little bit of sanding needs to be done on it, but I thought it would be a really good way to have a semi-custom knife. I went ahead and picked up a sheath for it while I was there. So the only thing that was lacking were the brass pins and the piece of tube that we need for the lanyard hole, and they sold those also, so I was able to pick those up. So all I really needed to put into this project was some time, some tools at home. I've got some maple here left over from a previous knife project, and I'm going to use Gorilla Glue to glue it all together. That's what they recommended. I've never used this product before on a knife scales, so I'm interested in seeing how that turns out. So stay with me as we go through this build, and I'll shoot some pictures as I go through the process, and you can join me as we do it. This might be something that you'd be interested in doing too. So stand by and we'll start this build. Okay, so here you go in the light a little bit better. You can see those grind lines. They look fantastic. Very nice job of grinding this blank out. You see those lines on that blade. I really think this is going to be a great option. So stick with me as we start this build, and I'll take some shots as we progress through the build process and bring you along for it. Well, we're coming towards the end of the project, and it really only took a couple of hours to get to this point. The biggest part of that time lapse now has been letting those scales dry. This blade has a satin finish on it up here, and it was on the back, but I wanted that spine a little bit sharper, so I went ahead and filed that down. And it's full tang, of course, so we've got all of this exposed metal up here, and I wanted to try to protect that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some bluing, and I'm going to go ahead, and I know I'm going to do in between the scales. I don't know how far down the blade I'm going to go. we'll see as we progress along with this. Wow, that's starting to turn quick. Trying to keep a good straight line there, because like I said, I don't know how much of this blade or spine I'm going to protect yet. We'll see as we go. And I know what a lot of people will say about protecting the blade, but you know what? The cool thing about making your own knife or semi-custom doing it like this, you get to do it the way you want to do it, not the way everybody says it should be done. Because what's right for one person might not be right for you. We're going to let that set for just a few seconds, and we use water to stop the reaction. So I've got the old Pathfinder canteen bottle over here, and we can just wet that down and stop it when we get ready. Look, there we go. Alright, I decided to go ahead and do the whole blade because as I sharpen it, it'll brighten that back up, and that'll go ahead and give it some consistency, but I'm hoping that it'll still have that kind of, I don't know, rustic look to it, not a perfect bluing job. It's kind of ironic, I don't want a perfect bluing job. Just a leather strop mounted on a thin piece of wood with some fine jeweler's rouge just to clean up that edge. And we'll see how this project turned out. Well, I gotta say, that was a really cool project, and I'm really proud at the way this one turned out. This by far is my favorite knife build so far. And even though the blade was really done by the knife shop at the Pathfinder school, the Pathfinder Knife Shop, and I'll wear their emblem today in celebration of that, I think that Jim Canterbury really has a great thing going with that knife shop, and the ability to buy this blade blank and just do a little bit of the final touch-ups to it with the heat treat already done definitely made this job very doable. And I encourage you to contact them, find out if it's possible for you to buy a blade that's already been through heat treat and to try one of these builds yourself. I'm tickled to death the way that turned out. I really like the way it feels in the hand. Of course, I kept sanding on it until I had it just the way I wanted it. And the total build time on this, not including letting the glue dry, I used the Gorilla Glue and put it on, epoxied it, and let it set overnight. Not including that overnight time, the actual time building it, I would say is really only about 3 hours. And I've probably got $75 in materials in the project altogether, which I think is a really good price for a knife of this quality. And it just feels so good in the hand that I'm really excited and ready to get out in the field and use this a little bit. maybe I'll go ahead and shoot a little bit of a video and just see how it starts to carve and how it processes some tinder and kindling up and even strikes a fire steel, because I haven't done that since I finished bluing the blade. Of course, I did it before I put that final finish on it, but now it's time to give it that final test. I hope you enjoyed coming along with me as we did this build. I certainly enjoyed doing it, and I'll definitely do another one in the future. Once again, I'd encourage you to contact Self-Reliance Outfitters and find out if you can get the materials to do this also. There's no better way to appreciate the quality of a knife than to sit in a small cabinet shop or a workshop somewhere and use the tools that you have to grind out those scales and make that knife really a custom one-off, semi-custom anyway, but something that fits your hand and it's going to be to your preference. And there's nothing like a good quality knife. So thanks for joining me on this one. I'm Tim Langston with Red Dog Bushcraft, home of global safety and survival. Until next time, guys, God bless.